All right, got to dive into today's AI news. Um, you shared the AI Daily News Digest for February 27th, 2025.
Right.
And honestly,
Yeah.
even for someone who, follows this stuff pretty closely,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got everything from, like, teen open source drama to a browser that might be able to read your mind.
It really does highlight how fast things are moving.
Right.
Like, what might have been a slow news day a year ago is now just packed with major developments.
I mean, should we just kick things off with the battle of the AI assistants?
Sure.
I mean, Amazon just launched Alexa Plus, and it feels like they're really pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, it's interesting because they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right.
Alexa Plus integrates both Amazon's own language model, Nova, and Anthropic's Claude.
Okay.
It's a subscription model, but free for Prime members.
Oh, for
It seems like a pretty classic Amazon move.
Right. Lock them into the ecosystem. But speaking of interesting strategies, Perplexity just launched a voice mode on their iOS app.
Oh, cool.
I checked out the demo video.
Yeah.
And it looks like you can literally have a conversation with it.
Wow.
Asking questions, getting real-time answers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Perplexity is definitely one to watch.
I think so.
They're still a smaller player compared to, the giants.
Right.
But they're moving fast and making smart moves. This voice mode is a big step towards making their platform more accessible and user-friendly.
For sure.
Plus, they're working on Android and Mac versions.
Oh, wow.
So they're clearly thinking long-term.
Okay, so it seems like while everyone's focused on these, like, flashy new releases, OpenAI is quietly making some upgrades behind the scenes.
That's right.
They've expanded access to deep research for ChatGPT users.
Okay.
Which means more people can play with features like image embedding.
Cool.
And they've also added a file search feature to their Assistance API for better document interaction.
OpenAI has a history of just quietly improving their existing tools while everyone else is chasing the next big thing.
Yeah.
This kind of steady progress might not grab headlines, but it can be just as impactful in the long run.
Next up, DeepSeek's making waves again.
Oh, DeepSeek.
This time with both pricing and performance. They've slashed prices on their API discounts up to 75% during off-peak hours.
Wow, that's huge.
So specifically, their V3 and R1 models are heavily discounted.
Got it.
It's a bold move,
Yeah.
Could be aimed at undercutting competitors or simply managing server load. Who knows?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely a sign that they're playing to win.
And they're not just playing the price war game.
Right.
They've also developed DeepGEM.
DeepGEM.
It's a CUDA-based library that delivers, like, crazy fast FP8 performance on NVIDIA Hopper GPUs.
What?
Yeah.
I have not heard of that.
What's impressive is that they're using DeepGEMM to train their V3 and R1 models. And they've open sourced it.
Wow.
So, this focus on hardware efficiency is going to be crucial as AI models get, bigger and more complex.
Absolutely.
They're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with current hardware.
Very cool.
Let's move on to Claude 3.7.
Okay.
Which is making a splash with its Sonnet model.
Sonnet, all right.
It's topping leaderboards, particularly in web development.
Interesting.
And it's gotten incredibly token efficient, with a reported 14% reduction in token usage.
That's pretty impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a funny little quirk.
Oh.
Apparently, Claude 3.7 sometimes identifies itself as Claude 3 Opus.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's got a bit of an identity crisis.
You think so?
It's a humorous reminder that even these incredibly advanced models are still works in progress.
Right, they're not perfect.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah. And speaking of unintended consequences, there was that incident with Claude Code source code being accidentally leaked.
Oh, right.
Anthropic apparently, left it in a public spot. Oops.
Whoops. What do you think this means for them?
I don't know.
And for the open source community in general?
It's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it could be a blow to Anthropic, giving competitors a peek under the hood. But on the other hand, it could accelerate open source development.
Yeah.
With others building upon Claude Code and potentially creating new and innovative applications.
It's almost like a forced open source contribution.
Right.
Yeah.
And that brings us to some drama in the open source world.
Uh-oh.
Starring a high school student.
It happened.
So this student tried to sell code for local LLM training.
Okay.
which immediately sparked backlash from the open source community.
Of course, why would someone try to sell something that's readily available for free?
It's the principle of the thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the open source world is built on the principles of collaboration and free access to knowledge. Trying to monetize something that could be freely shared goes against the very ethos of the community.
Exactly.
This incident really highlights the importance of those values within the open source movement.
So what happened? Did they, cave to the pressure?
Let's just say they were quickly persuaded to open source the code after facing the community's reaction.
It's like a mob sometimes.
It can be, yeah.
Speaking of open source and pushing boundaries, DeepSeek is back in the spotlight with their DeepGEMM library, which they've made freely available.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's a testament to their commitment to both performance and open source collaboration.
Yeah.
By making this technology accessible to others, they're not only showcasing their own innovation, but they're also potentially raising the bar for the entire field.
And on that note, I think it's time to move on to some of the other fascinating developments from the AI Daily News Digest.
Okay.
Stay with us as we delve into Perplexity's bold plans, the latest buzz around GPT 4.5, and some intriguing trends in API discounts and offers.
Sounds good.
It's going to be an exciting ride.
It always is. Welcome back.
And speaking of shaking things up,
Yeah.
Perplexity is making headlines with their new venture,
A
a web browser called Comet.
browser, huh?
Yeah, but it's not just another browser.
Okay.
They're calling it an agentic browser.
Agentic.
Yeah, and they're hiring like crazy to get it off the ground.
It's not just about browsing.
Right.
It's about doing things for you.
That seems to be the idea.
Interesting.
The details are still kind of under wraps,
Right.
but it sounds like they want to integrate AI assistance, task automation, maybe even predictive capabilities.
That's ambitious.
It is. It's a very ambitious goal.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if they can pull it off.
For sure.
Could this be the next evolution of the web browser?
I don't know.
Or just another Chrome with a fancy AI coat of paint?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, only time will tell.
Right.
Now, shifting gears to a topic that's been generating a lot of buzz.
Okay.
Let's talk about GPT 4.5.
GPT 4.5, all right.
The rumor mill is churning with whispers of an imminent release.
Really?
Possibly even this week.
Wow.
Sam Altman has been dropping hints, and there are even supposed leaks of beta versions floating around.
Interesting.
What's particularly interesting is that some reports suggest GPT 4.5 could be significantly more powerful than GPT-4 with enhanced reasoning abilities and a deeper understanding of context.
So if that's true, it would be a major leap forward.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Even more sophisticated chatbots, more accurate language translation, and maybe even AI-generated content that rivals human creativity.
The implications are huge.
Yeah.
Not just for developers, but for anyone who uses AI in their daily life.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's step back from the future for a second and talk about something a bit more practical.
Right.
API discounts and offers.
API discounts.
We've already talked about DeepSeek's aggressive price cut.
All right.
But they're not alone.
Oh.
OpenAI has made their O1 reasoning model completely free for all Copilot users.
That's a big deal.
It is. It makes this advanced reasoning capability accessible to a much wider audience. Microsoft, who partners with OpenAI for Copilot, is clearly betting on the power of democratizing these tools.
It makes sense.
Right.
By making it free, they can attract more users, gather more data, and potentially drive innovation as developers find new and creative uses for the model.
It's a classic strategy in the tech world.
Yeah.
Give away the basic tools to build a user base and monetize later with premium features or services.
Exactly.
Speaking of tools, one that caught my eye was OpenEvils.
OpenEvils.
It's an open source platform for evaluating large language models.
Interesting. So it's a resource for developers who want to benchmark their models and ensure they're meeting specific performance standards.
Exactly.
Evaluating these models can be complex.
Yeah.
So having a standardized set of tools and metrics is crucial for transparency and accountability in the field.
It helps developers make informed decisions about which models to use and how to improve their own models.
Now let's jump into the world of robotics.
Okay.
Figure, robotics is making waves with their plans to scale up production of humanoid robots.
Humanoid robots.
Yeah, and they're not just talking about simple robots either.
Oh.
These are robots designed to look and move like humans.
Wow.
Powered by an AI system called Helix.
Humanoid robots working alongside humans.
It's becoming less fiction and more reality every day.
I mean, that sounds like something out of science fiction.
Yeah.
It does.
Figure's robots are already being used in industrial settings.
Okay.
Performing tasks like assembly line work at BMW.
So, as the technology improves and the costs come down, it's not hard to imagine these robots taking on more roles,
right,
assisting the elderly, or working in healthcare.
It raises all sorts of interesting questions about the future of work.
Yeah.
The role of AI in society, and the ethical considerations we need to address as robots become more integrated into our lives.
It's definitely a topic that deserves a deep dive of its own.
For sure.
But for now, let's shift our focus to something called P2L.
P2L.
Or prompt to leaderboard.
Prompt to leaderboard.
This is a fascinating new development.
Yeah.
Essentially, researchers have created an open source system that trains large language models to generate leaderboards based on specific prompts.
So it's an AI that can rank other AIs.
Exactly. It's a bit meta.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly practical.
How so?
It allows developers to quickly compare the performance of different models without having to run time-consuming and expensive benchmarks.
That sounds like a huge time saver.
It is.
Especially in a field as fast-moving as AI,
right,
where new models are being released all the time.
Exactly. P2L has the potential to be a valuable tool for researchers and developers who are trying to stay ahead of the curve and push the boundaries of AI.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, let's talk about Tiny R1.
Tiny R1. Okay.
It's a distilled version of DeepSeek's larger R1 model, but it's still incredibly powerful despite its smaller size.
So the advantage of a smaller model is that it requires less computational power to run.
Right.
Which means it can be deployed on a wider range of devices, including smartphones and other mobile devices.
So instead of relying on the cloud for all our AI processing, we could have powerful AI capabilities running locally on our own devices.
This ties into the trend of edge computing, where AI processing is done closer to the data source, reducing latency and improving privacy.
It's like the democratization of AI on a hardware level.
Anyone could have access to powerful AI capabilities, regardless of their computing resources.
And that powered apps that run smoothly on our phones without draining our batteries or needing a constant internet connection.
And that brings us to the end of part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground, from Perplexity's ambitious browser plans to the potential of Tiny R1 and edge computing.
Yeah.
But don't go anywhere.
Okay.
In the final part of this deep dive, we'll explore even more fascinating developments, including Figure robotics plans for the future, the potential impact of GPT 4.5, and some intriguing insights into API discounts and offers.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. It's going to be a thought-provoking ride.
It always is.
Welcome back. We've been talking about all the ways AI is becoming more powerful and accessible.
Right.
But what about the hardware side of things?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's where Figure robotics comes in, right?
Exactly. We touched on their humanoid robots earlier. But what's really fascinating is their long-term vision.
Okay.
They're not just building robots. They're building a whole ecosystem for them to operate in.
So it's not just about the robots themselves.
Right.
It's about creating the infrastructure for a future where robots and humans work side by side.
That's the big picture.
Okay.
Think about it. Charging stations, maintenance hubs, maybe even specialized environments designed for robot-human collaboration.
Wow.
Figure seems to be thinking decades ahead. Anticipating the challenges and opportunities of a truly robot-integrated society.
It's both exciting and a little bit daunting, I have to say.
I agree.
To imagine what that world will look like.
It certainly raises a lot of questions, but that's part of what makes this field so compelling.
For sure.
Now let's switch gears back to the world of language models. You mentioned GPT 4.5 earlier, and there's one particular development that has a lot of people talking. GPT-4o Advanced Voice.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure.
GPT-4o Advanced Voice. What does it all mean?
It's essentially a new version of GPT-4 that's specifically designed for voice-based applications.
Okay.
Think about it. Virtual assistants that can hold natural conversations AI-powered audiobooks that sound indistinguishable from human narration.
Oh, wow.
Even real-time language translation that happens seamlessly as you speak.
That sounds like it could be a game changer.
It really could.
For accessibility, education, and even entertainment.
Absolutely. This technology has the potential to break down communication barriers,
Yeah.
make information more accessible, and create entirely new forms of creative expression.
And to bring it back to the news we've been discussing, this ties in nicely with Perplexity's new voice mode and the potential of Comet, their agentic browser.
It's all starting to feel very interconnected.
It is.
It definitely highlights how different areas of AI research are converging and feeding into each other.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time to be following these developments.
Let's wrap things up by talking about the economics of AI.
Okay.
We've seen DeepSeek slashing prices and OpenAI offering free access to their O1 reasoning model. Is this a trend we're likely to see more of?
It's hard to say for sure, but it wouldn't be surprising. As AI models become more powerful and easier to develop, competition is heating up. Companies are looking for ways to stand out, attract users, and gain market share.
So it's not just about building the best AI.
Right.
It's about making it accessible and affordable.
Exactly. And as we've seen with TinyR1 and the trend towards edge computing, hardware efficiency is becoming just as important as software innovation.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
The companies that can deliver both performance and affordability are likely to have a significant advantage in the years to come.
So what does this all mean for someone like me?
Yeah.
Someone who's interested in AI, but not necessarily a developer or researcher.
It means that AI is becoming more integrated into our lives every day, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
The tools we use, the services we rely on, even the way we communicate are all being shaped by AI.
It sounds like it's more important than ever to stay informed.
It is.
And understand the potential impact of these technologies.
Absolutely. AI is a powerful tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
It's up to all of us to engage in thoughtful discussions, ask critical questions,
For sure.
and make sure that AI is developed and deployed in a way that benefits all of humanity.
Well, that's a great note to end on.
I think so too.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into the world of AI.
It has been.
With insights, breakthroughs, and even a bit of drama along the way.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been my pleasure. Until next time.
Yeah, until next time.
Keep exploring and keep learning.
Right.
The future of AI is in all our hands.